So let's say you're a Wuthering Waves hater. Characters in this game really want their weapons. The optimization sucks. And when a filler patch comes around, there's no content in the game.
Huh?
You're right, we should go play Honkai Star Rail. We can talk about the first 2 points another day, but it seems like a big criticism about Wuthering Waves lately has been directed toward the quote-unquote filler patches. Let's be honest, the criticism is mostly coming from a minority group of people from a certain popular gacha game. I forgot what it was called though. But do you remember the infamous 5.4 filler patch? This patch featured arguably the worst character ever released, bloated story events with no skip button, and of course, zero notable quality of life changes. But what is a filler patch? As far as I understand, it was a term that was made up by the gacha community, and it usually refers to patches that come on the back end or before a major patch. So that's the thing. Filler patches have such a loose definition to them that it's often lost in translation what even qualifies as one. They can be both a good and a bad thing. Two things can be true at once. In Wuthering Waves, we have had quite a few filler patches. For example, the first one, and easily the most disappointing one, came shortly after the launch of the game, setting a bad precedent that other filler patches would be common and lackluster. This patch also featured the first limited 5-star character with the least amount of interest up until that point. I remember so many people hating on her. Don't switch up now and act like you liked her the whole time just because she aged well in the meta. The only saving grace for this patch had to be the limited free 5-star in Zhang Liao, and the fact that he was actually a monster of a main DPS and is still fairly relevant to this day, as well as giving Yinlin a use case who otherwise would be the weakest character in the game. Don't get me started on this stupid fireworks event, though I'm certain that the only reason any of us even played this event was for the free character. Let me know if you actually played this in your free time for your enjoyment, because we need to talk. Luckily for us, this did not become a reoccurring trend, as the most recent upcoming patch for Wuthering Waves, being 2.5, has gotten the filler patch label, and there is what seems to be a ton of content on the way, as well as one of the most anticipated characters since the launch of the game. Frolova is finally going to make her debut, but are Geshu Lin or Scar ever going to come out, or does Kuro just hate men? I guess we should be thankful we're even getting another male character in the near future. I never thought I'd complain about pulling too many girls, but anyway, Frolova looks incredible, and she is actually more than what I expected, as they incorporated manipulation into her kit flawlessly. Now when it comes to the 4 stars, we all know how bad most of the 4 stars in Wuthering Waves are.
Bruh, look at this dude.
What are you aiming at?
And when it comes to the weapons, it doesn't get much better. I couldn't even tell you the names of 90% of the 4-star weapons. Actually, scratch that. I could only tell you 2 of the names of 4-star weapons, being the Overture and Variation. Speaking of those weapons, they happen to be on the weapon banner for this upcoming patch, as well as some of the better 4-star characters in the game appearing on Frolova's banner. But as much as I'd love to talk about Frolova, characters aren't content. I know a couple of games that could learn from this, but Wuthering Waves does a pretty good job with maintaining a consistent content cycle. As someone who usually skips the story content, thank God we can even do that. I know some of us are still living in 2020. It is usually pretty hard to stay invested into the story. And if you're hate watching before you say, oh well, if the story was good, you wouldn't even have to skip it. I literally do it in almost every single game that I play. I don't know if you noticed, but video games aren't the best story medium. The new Overture quests are perfect for someone who loves the lore of this game. They build suspense for the new main story quests and get people involved into the story in an organic way. If you are really interested in the lore, it seems like the story gets better and better by the update, and I'm very happy about that, because the story was definitely nothing special at the beginning. I was really just gonna play Wuthering Waves for the combat once I played through the first story quest, but recently, especially in Septimont, the story is actually fairly interesting. And when I say that the story is good, I mean in gacha game standards. I know that people like to say that the story is trash, and of course it is in relativity to something like God of War or Clair Obscur, but you should be aware enough to know that when people are talking about a gacha story, then they're comparing it to other games in the same genre. Thankfully, this happens to be something that isn't a huge point of criticism. The biggest gripe that I think most players have with this new patch is the leisure event that we will get that looks just like the firework event from 1.3. If you see any event with this 2D overlay, then you should be pretty suspicious of what that content will offer you. And in this case, it looks like you're just playing Heyday with Frolova. Considering how anticipated this unit was, I feel like they should have shown more love to her and made something really special for her. Although the reason I wouldn't say that the entire patch is bad because of leisure events is because if you've noticed, Kuro seems to make updates to all of their gameplay events very consistently, and that streak did not end here with the updates to Dreaming Deep. This is one of the things that I love most about Wuthering Waves. Their gameplay events are so good that they could be fully fleshed out endgame modes on their own right now. If the Dreaming Deep mode ends up being terrible, then you can go ahead and ignore everything that I'm saying right now, because then there is not going to be much meaningful new content to play, and you might as well go download that horse racing game. It's actually pretty fun though, don't hate on it. When it comes to the Dreaming Deep game mode, it looks like the updates made could be as simple as quality of life changes, and that is one of the best things about this game. You don't realize how underrated quality of life changes are until you play a game that does not have the same quality of life that Wuthering Waves has. A game could be great, but when you experience convenience and then go back to some inconvenient mess, it makes you want to Alt F4 in Roblox. If you think that the quality of life in Wuthering Waves still isn't good enough, then they have something for you too, because we are finally getting the feature where you can upgrade your echoes and tune them at the exact same time. This is bad news for some of you though, because your echo rolls are some of the worst I've ever seen. And no, don't go watch my first video. I know the echo rolls were terrible. That was like 3 months ago. So if you see anybody complaining about this new feature, then you know what's really going on. This is something that I don't know how was not in the game from the beginning, but when it comes to this dev company, I feel confident that if something is glaring enough that can throw off the fluidity of the gameplay loop, then it will get changed eventually. Here's the thing, I would rather a quality of life change like this instead of an event that can be thrown in your face, but it just ends up being an event where you can click a couple of buttons and it'll be over. That's not all, they've also made echo managing a lot easier. And I don't know about you, but my echo management recently has become an issue as I've been overcapping on echoes a lot the past couple of weeks. So this change had perfect timing for me. And don't worry if you do not care about this, because the update for you is coming. Imagine if we had to wait 3 years to use double resin while farming. At that point, we wouldn't even care. Oh, I almost forgot. If you play Genshin, this is your weekly reminder to schedule your weeklies and talent materials so you can be ready to do them on the days that they're available. Filler patches are usually considered a bad thing, but Wuthering Waves is different. They have decided to make something out of what could have been considered nothing and create meaningful content during time periods that would otherwise be filled with garbage. I think a lot of people forget that gacha games are meant to be played casually anyway, so to hold Wuthering Waves to such a high standard, to expect every single patch to be better than the last is a little hypocritical. Being a live service game, it's damn near impossible to make every single patch perfect. So who cares if 2.5 is quote unquote mid? The standard that Wuthering Waves has set itself up to have is very high, so even a fairly good patch like this one and the ones to come will be heavily criticized. Whatever you think about the game in its current state, I think that it's a top 3 gacha game on the market, and even the god of gacha himself agrees. What? So that's something that is just set in stone. You can't argue with the guy that plays 15 gacha games.
This time, instead of me just saying it, let me show you. I'm Tuhu, and I am the god of gacha games. Check it out.
How would you know better than him? The problem will present itself when Kuro is consistently releasing filler content because they went on a vacation with Hoyo devs and realized how much more money they could make by being full of shit. So is Wuthering Waves going to end of service because of this? Yes, because I'm going to file a lawsuit against Kuro for not giving me Geshu Lin. So you heard it here first. If you see any Kuro lawsuit drama, it's because of me. If you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching. You look cute today. Peace.